Hey, thanks for checking out my channel if it's your first time here, and if you're returning, I love you. But since it's spooky season, I'm gonna haunt you forever. I'm Todd Stark from MacMovieGuy.com, and obviously it's one of my spooky reviews. I should be doing this with Dracula teeth. This is the Conjuring 2. Yeah. So I reviewed the first one, and I was like, I don't know if I'm going to review all of them. And then I was like, yeah, fuck it, I'll review all of them. So that's how we got to where we are today. I'm a blind film critic, so I don't know how scary these things are, but I can talk about the plot and characters, and also I can talk about whether or not the film is effective for a blind audience using audio description, which in this case I saw on HBO Max, so it was done by Deluxe, and it was narrated by the wonderful Tansy Alexander. So she's fantastic, probably most famous right now for doing Stranger Things. But yeah, so The Conjuring 2, just to recap in case you didn't see my first Conjuring video, I liked it and ended up giving it an A-. So I'm going to talk about some things that I learned from having just seen that, and now moving into The Conjuring 2. So this one takes place, it's like a different haunting, and we have our favorite couple of, I don't even know what to call them, because they're kind of everything. They're kind of like full service. They can talk to the dead, they can exorcise, they see ghosts, they record ghosts, they do everything. I'm sure there's a word for that, but they're full service paranormal activity people. Anyway, Ed and Lorraine, played once again by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. And this time they are, well, we have our first little like glimpse, just like we did in the first film where we were introduced to Annabelle. There's like this other thing, and Lorraine is narrating, and she's talking about this. She's like, there was this one time I remember. And you're like, oh shit, it's gonna get real. But then that's not part of the real story. That's just the prologue. Anyway, so then we jump across the pond over to England, which is hilarious because the first film takes place in America, but we have a British narrator. Second film takes place in the UK. We have an American narrator. You cannot make this stuff up. Love it. It's my favorite thing. So, yeah, we are introduced to a family. This poor little girl gets caught like holding a cigarette and sent home to her mom, and suddenly she's possessed. Hey kids, don't smoke. But basically that's it. They move into a new house, and there's like this whole possession thing, but it's like this old man and this other British guy comes in first, and he does the recordings, and that's what gets Ed and Lorraine interested in the possibility of doing an exorcism. But they have to go because the church is like, we get roped into too many hoaxes, so we send these two doofuses in first. So Ed and Lorraine have to go in for the Catholic Church before there can be an exorcism, because the Catholic Church doesn't want to touch this one with a 10-foot pole. Anyway, so the little girl, and she speaks and has like this old man voice that comes out of her instead, and he's this guy who's like, I've lived here my whole life. Where's my family? I came back for my family. And then we see the Crooked Man, which immediately made me miss Raising Dion. I'm weird. And then yeah, things just keep spiraling out of control. This is the film that introduced the nun to the world of The Conjuring. I guess that's kind of a spoiler, but at some point not. It's not really a spoiler. Um, and the rest of the film sort of plays out. So um, yeah, so the Conjuring universe, they keep growing by introducing things. Who knows what's in? I haven't seen The Devil Made Me Do It. I wonder if it's the devil, and I wonder if we'll get devil movies. But who knows? We'll find out with the introduction of more Conjuring sequels, I'm sure. Um, this one is not as good for a multitude of reasons. It's not bad. It's just not as good. Like the first Conjuring, like I slept on this franchise. I just like there were so many like spooky house type, jump scare movies that seemed to all be coming out at the same time, and I was like, I don't know, is this like a thing now? It felt like the new wave of like torture porn that came with like Saw and Hostel and all those things. I was like, I don't know. Do we need to bother to differentiate? But the first one is actually really well directed, and James Wan holds the audience for like at least a third, if not half of the movie before giving them an effective jump scare, or any jump scare. It's all mood. It's all just sitting in it and taking in the atmosphere and getting to know these characters and the unease, and he builds it, and it's fantastic, and it's why I gave that film an A-. This film doesn't do that. This film is not as clever. It doesn't care. It's almost like they felt like, well, we scared you with The Conjuring, so you're going to get scared in the sequel. Doesn't mean you have to show your cards up front. It just means that you have to get more creative with the sequel. I didn't even think this one was as scary. Like when the climax hits, the first one, like, oh my God, like when you really get into it, like nuts. This one was kind of like, all right. It feels more emotional and like they're going for something completely different, almost like a family horror film, like a cross between like a kids film and then a family and a horror film, because there's a whole lot of family elements put in here, like spending time with like brothers and sisters. Like these kids function more as kids than the girls did in the first film, where they were all just kind of victims. This film, they're younger and they're seen more as children instead of kind of functioning adults. It also helps that in the sequel, there's really only one of them that's being haunted, one that's been targeted. So, whereas in the first film, all of them were, which is what was terrifying. This film is just all about this one poor little girl that's got this demon inside of her, and weird things happen, and they can't explain it, and they think it's a hoax. They think the family's in on it, and then they're like, nah, family. And I could see that. I mean, there were some scenes where I was like, sure. But then there are other scenes where like, they're claimed when, I guess it's kind of a little spoiler, but like she throws a table, and they're trying to be like, oh, she did that on her own. And I was like, what table? This girl's like 9 or 10? Something like that. She's not old. She's not like a teenager. She's not like on the high school basketball team. What table did she just throw across the room? A dining room table was so lightweight and so shitty that this little girl picked it up and threw it across the room without being possessed. I don't know. It's so bizarre. Anyway, yeah, it's I didn't like the score to this film either. It was like it was written for a film in a different genre. There's so many times where I felt like, I was like, what is James Wan trying to do with this film? The first film was so well directed by him. The second film is like, he came in and he was like, it's like somebody told him he got like a 5% on Rotten Tomatoes, and he was like, all right, I can't do anything I did in the first film. I have to do everything completely differently, which means I'm going to direct it like it's not a horror film from a completely different genre. I'm not, but then I am going to throw all the jump scares in. I'm not going to hold him back. I'm just going to, from the beginning, you're just going to know what's up. And I didn't think it was effective. He didn't get me. I never was like, oh shit, you know. I think literally the creepiest thing about the entire movie came at the very end in the, like, where are they now? That was maybe the creepiest, where I was like, oh, that's unsettling. Not for one reason only. Like, why did you keep the fucking chair? That's what I want to know. Why did you keep the chair? For those who have seen The Conjuring 2 and are watching this review, you know what I'm talking about. Did you have that same thought? That was the thought that I had. So I was like, why? Why? I would not. That would set it on fire. But anyway, yeah, it's a step down. Sorry. In the world of sequels, this is not one that surpasses the original, and I'd fight anybody who thinks that it does. The direction, the craftsmanship that James Wan put into the first one is just not here. It's this one is just kind of straightforward directed. He knows he's got your money. He's putting a 2 on something that made millions of dollars in the box office. He knows you're going to show up. He's got Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga coming back, and they did an excellent job, by the way. And yeah, that's it. He's got your money. Now, for us blind people, I will say the audio description improved, and here's why. The ghosts are better described. All of the moments, the shadows and everything, the growing, the increasing, the specifically what some of them look like. There aren't that many, so I can't really say. I don't want to ruin the film. This film also fails to have less individual hauntings, I guess you could say, ghosts, spirits, demons, whatever you want to call them, than the first film. But it does describe them better. So you feel like you are a little bit more like, ooh, oh, that is kind of creepy. You can always do more. That would be my note to any audio narrator, is in a film like this, people are coming not, I hate to say it, not for the plot, not for the characters, but primarily to get scared. And often for gore and stuff like that. That's why people show up to horror movies. They don't show up to hear Patrick Wilson sing an Elvis Presley song. But they show up for, to feel unease, or to scream, or to get that feeling, that rush. So the audio description, how it can bridge the gap in a horror film, is to know that, and to help build an effective jump scare, or to let us know why something is scary by describing it in as much detail as humanly possible in the time given. Whatever you can give, whatever you can bring to it, do it. Send it over the top. It may feel like it's over the top. It won't be in this genre. Other genres, maybe. It'll feel like you're glorifying a moment, but in a horror film, it won't. So, those are my thoughts on The Conjuring 2. Yeah, I mean, in the world of horror, it's still a much better film than a lot of other films. I actually still have to say the jump scares are not cheap, which I still appreciate. There's nothing, I'll never forgive M. Night Shyamalan for the barking dog and Signs, where I was just like, that's a dick move. There's nothing like that. There's nothing where it's like, the sound drops out and then it's something completely different that is inconsequential. It's anytime you get something, it's real, it's effective, and it's supposed to be there. He never fakes you out. So that is a good thing that James Wan does, because I hate the fake out jump scares. They're so cheap and so shitty. Yeah, I miss the craftsmanship of the first film. So I'm gonna give The Conjuring 2 a B-. So thank you for joining me for another spooky review. Spooky. That's what I'm calling my reviews this October. As I maneuver through some films of the season that I haven't seen yet. Or possibly have seen. And getting them out there to get you guys some content that's watchable with audio description. Anyway, let me know what you think in the comments. As always, you can check out my website, macthemovieguy.com, for more reviews. You can go to the audio description project, adp.acb.org. It'll let you know what has audio description and where you can watch it. And also, you can go to theadna.org, and you can look up Miss Tansy Alexander, and you can see what other things she's described, because she's a boss. And a fantastic narrator, one of my favorites, and definitely has participated in a lot of things. So give her a look. Give her a look-see. Anyway, that's it. I'm going to go review something else, and I will see you on the other side.